You are listening to the Hammersy Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Hello, Ian. How are you?
Good evening, Mark. Yes, I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Right, yeah. Another podcast, another week. Getting close to Christmas. Well, it's the next weekend's Black Friday, but
I think Christmas starts 1st of November, if not before.
Yeah. Well, we've had a couple of years where Black Friday's been really late, hasn't it? So it's really melded into Christmas, and then I presume it'll gradually get earlier and earlier again, won't it now? So that
Black Friday will, yeah. Ironically, because Black Friday was so late this year, it's been earlier because people go, well, we can't wait till the end of Black Friday. That's ridiculous. So let's go at the start of November.
But it's morphed, hasn't it? It's morphed into Black November. I mean, people are even going on to Black Friday in middle of October, like gradually getting earlier and earlier. But it depends on the type of business you're in, isn't it? I mean, we did a whole podcast on it, didn't we? On how to do it. So we won't talk about that because we're in the middle of our series of the 5 most important offers of e-commerce. So we have done already. So the 5 offers are the recruitment offer, second sale, the general retention, the peak offers, seasonal Black Friday, etc., and then reactivation. So we have already done the recruitment offer and the second sale, and today we're going to do general retention. So I encourage those of you who've not done those or not listened to those first 2 podcasts to go and have a listen to those, because I think the recruitment and second sale are, they're very, very important to get right. And we're assuming now that you've got customers that you want to retain. Because if you haven't got customers to retain, then there's no point trying to retain, doing a podcast on general retention. So we've got some points we want to talk through. Do you want to kind of, you look like you want to say something?
Yeah. How do you know?
I don't know. You just have that look on your face.
Yes, please. Please let me do that. I'll start off by saying that this is just, the podcasts are here purely as a top-level nod, a top-level guide, very helicopter view. And so if you get something out of it, obviously great. And it's really trying to make you think about it in a different way. Of course, if you want to know more in depth and actually how to do it for your specific businesses, because there's always nuances, and it's easy for Mark and I to sit here and say, this is what you need to do. When we're actually coaching and we're actually working with a client, there's a lot more detail, there's a lot more meat on the bone we have to go through. So obviously, if you listen to us thinking this is interesting and you want to know more, you want to find out, well, how do I actually build my recruitment strategy, my offer architecture for my retention? For me, what would you do? Give us a call. Just going to say that out loud. Don't think you can sit here and listen to a podcast and this is all you need. Yeah. You want to go faster, you want to learn more, you need to call us.
It's very easy for us to make it sound very simple on a podcast, isn't it? And you think, oh, I've got it. And I think that obviously the podcast is useful, but at the same time, if you've been listening to the podcast for 3 years and you've not actually moved the needle, you're not going to get anywhere by just listening to more podcasts. You eventually have to come down and actually sit down with somebody who actually goes through your numbers and understand what your key offers are.
Well, there's always differences, but let me go through my opinion of the third offer, which is the general retention offer. And I'll say a couple of things. Now, the reason we want to increase the retention, this is us trying to get more money off the customer. Now, if the previous 2 podcasts we did about the recruitment offer, which is what you do for how you get a first-time customer on board, and then the second sale, and this is the retention. The reason we want to do it, because this is how we get lifetime customer value up. And the reason we want to get lifetime customer value up is because we can significantly increase the profit of the business And if we can increase the profit of the business, we can significantly increase our ad spend, because we're getting so much money off the customer, we're getting so much more revenue off the customer that we can now afford to be much more aggressive with our ads. Okay, so that's the reason why we want to do it, because it allows us to grow much more quickly. It isn't just about getting more money at the back end; it is getting more money at the back end, which allows us to pull the ad lever and make the ads all work. Okay, so that's the kind of reason. The first one, which is the first customer offer, and then the second sale, they're really they're very close together, right? So they are almost, you could almost say they are the first customer. Yeah, they're like, the first customer, the second customer, they're very, very quick. This is where we come into kind of normal territory. Like, how do we get more revenue from our existing customers? It's kind of how do we get more revenue out of the business? Okay, well, the most profitable way is you get your existing customers to buy. Well, how do we do that? How do we go about it? And I would say that the biggest unlock, I suppose, when we're looking at businesses that we've scaled over the last 25 years in e-commerce, the biggest unlock of how to think about getting more repeat business, general retention, comes, in my opinion, from three things. Number one, what naturally happens in the rhythm of your industry. So what natural events happen, and that might be things like Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, Christmas. What's naturally happening, or it might be it's you're selling swimming trunks, and it's when it gets nice weather and people go on holiday, they'll buy swimming trunks. Like what's naturally happening, and that's about pushing the peaks harder. And I'm going to give you some examples. So the first one is what's naturally occurring in your industry. The second one tends to be newness. And if you're bringing out new products, new launch, new categories, newness. And the third one is the sale, the end of season sale. So it's like, and it's really like, if you look at the general retention, how we've got more out of the list, is that we've leaned into something that was naturally happening in that industry. Because you can't just sometimes
can't create the buzz yourself. You
it's much better to lean into something. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we do create the buzz. I mean, look, there's the needlepoint business we're working with at the moment. With, you can create a sale, but most of the time is you're going with the flow of the river. And if you take your clothing business, take somebody like Brook Taverner, a men's clothing retailer. There's a very defined sale rhythm for existing customers, and it's the spring summer launch, it's the spring summer sale, it's the autumn winter launch, it's the autumn winter sale. That's a real natural thing that happens for nearly all fashion businesses, and we're leaning into that much more. So when we're trying to get more repeat, we will try and look at what's naturally happening, and we'll push that harder. That's kind of like the most simple, most obvious kind of low-hanging fruit is what's naturally occurring in the market. And other businesses have like Valentine's Day and Easter and Father's Day and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's my general... Calendar. Yeah. The first thing we do is the marketing calendar, creating the marketing calendar. But what would you say to that? If I put you on the spot and say which clients, which businesses that we work with who we think have done a good job where we've got the repeat up by looking at the natural rhythm that's happening and just going and pushing that harder.
Well, I think the one you mentioned, Brook Taverner, is probably the best example of that. But I think that you've got to be careful about how we describe that, because obviously that makes sense for a menswear retailer. And what I've said in the notes is like a marketing calendar, create an entertainment marketing calendar that reads like a fun list of activities that they can get involved with by buying stuff. So a fun list of activities that they can get involved with by buying stuff. So that's the key to it. But then if you look at like someone like GSF Car Parts, it's slightly different, because you are constrained by the fact that people only service their cars so often. They only have needs for certain things. So it's slightly different in that you're trying to get awareness to the people who naturally have a need. And so it's less about having it more exciting things coming out, because it's like new brake pad. No one cares, because if you've serviced your brake pad, it's more about being relevant in the market. So in every industry, there's usually something that people do. There's like a big show once a year or twice a year or something that happens, or there's things that people are doing, or there's even business to business. There's new legislation that's coming out, or, there's all these things that you can kind of use in your industry to kind of build. So I think GSF Car Parts did a very good job with email in an industry that email shouldn't have worked with. So we created the channel, the email. We drove a lot of sales with the weekend emails in a market that it shouldn't really have done that, because who's going to buy a brake pad when they don't need a brake pad? So very different customers, like Brook Taverner creating an entertainment layer, having new products, GSF being relevant, being in front of the right people at the right time when they need something. Two different things, but at the same time using an entertainment layer to get the attention.
There's a bit of seasonality to car parts, though. Like when it gets darker and colder, batteries fail. They need battery chargers, and then there's MOT season around March. So it's very rare that we don't see a natural rhythm.
Getting ready to go on the summer holiday. I remember that one.
Businesses. We're working with a business this morning, and they're selling plants, like artificial plants, household plants. And when it gets darker, people come inside. They buy more stuff for the house, and over the summer months, the natural rhythm isn't there. So there's always some. So that's where I would naturally look, and I think we've said this a few times that we. If to get retention, you tend to get in your peaks. When you're busy, you tend to be able to push much harder in your peaks, and that's when we take businesses to the next level. If you think about businesses that we've run or we own, you never take them to the next level in the troughs. When it's a down. When let's say it's February or something, and nobody's you're having a quieter month, that's not when you get those game changing. It's never those. It's always when you're coming into your peak season. That's when we get the businesses to really get them to the next level. Look at our business. I mean, the bedding business that we run. I mean that's going to do. Look, according to our number sheet. We're coming into the season. We're going to do £650,000 a month this month. In dollars, what's that, like nearly $1 million? We only launched the business, a couple of years ago, and we're doing. We're pushing now. We're able to push because we're and it's a lot of. We're not only recruiting, but we're getting a lot of existing. A lot of people. We're giving people a reason to buy, because we're leaning into Black Friday. That's an example of it. We're leading into a natural event. That's the most obvious, simple one, isn't it?
I think one thing you said was interesting, which is the first thing you've got to do is you've got to analyze how people buy. So if you have a business and people are buying again and you're retaining customers, you want to look at how those customers are buying. So like in any business, let's say Brook Taverner, for example. Like, it's not like when we came to, because I remember working with Jason, and he was like, I really want to double the amount of times people buy. And it wasn't necessarily, people weren't not buying at all. There was already behavior there. So it was like, some of the customers are doing the behavior that we want already. We then need to make that easier to do for the customers who almost buy again or almost are retained, and then incentivize those people to do so. So it wasn't like we kind of came to a business like wedding dresses and we went, right, let's try and get people to buy 3 times a year. That's not going to happen. It was a business that naturally people did buy again. We were just augmenting that. We were emphasizing, we were making big the behavior that we wanted to see. So every business will have some level of retention already. And what we're looking for is what that retention typically looks like, how we can make it easier for that retention to happen over and over again, and how we can incentivize that behavior to happen more often. And it's really as simple as that. That's the first step, is to kind of understand how people buy. The second step is then to add that entertainment layer where you create a list of fun activities that they can get involved with buying stuff. And then there's a few other things as well, which we can talk about in the notes. Shall I just go through them?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like automating milestones is an important one. So when someone does buy a second time, send them a personalized email saying, "Oh, it's great, Ian. Thank you for buying this. This is your second purchase with us. That's fantastic. Blah, 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 blah. I'm really happy for you to be with us." The same thing for the second and third or even fourth order.
I'd say, can I just say there's one more simple point in that? Sorry to interrupt you, but actually what I thought you were going to say was if you automate a repeat. So if it's gifting, for example, and you want to get more out of existing customers, you need to email them 11 months after they bought. If it is a gifting, have that automated.
I still get reminders to celebrate your anniversaries for all your ex-wives on Moonpig.
Brilliant. I've got no comment.
No comment.
Yeah, you're not like it's religion, politics, and divorce. You can't talk about those.
No. So like automating and recognizing the behavior that you want your customers to exhibit. Now, if someone does something right, like if you had a child and they did something right, you'd recognize it, wouldn't you? I'm not saying your customers are children, but I'm saying you could recognize in humans the behavior you want them to exhibit. So you want to call them out. So automating milestone moments, like personalizing things, reaching out to them, those kind of things. The other thing is, I've seen people work very well with communities now. So the community could be like a Facebook group or something that actually builds. Now, with a community, it's not one size fits all. You can't like sell fridge hinges, spare parts, and go and build a community around it. Like it's just not, it has to be something where there's a passion for the product, maybe a hobby. Like, so a friend of mine runs a very big fishing shop. That's a great example where you could build a community around fishing because everybody's absolutely obsessed with fishing. It's a hobby-based business. Like, one of the people that came through the level 1 program, Sarah Horan, like she created a community, a Facebook group around handbags. Some women love handbags and they want to talk about the handbags and the look that they're putting together and all that kind of stuff. But you can't, like bedding envy. Would you create a community around bedding envy? Probably not, because it's like people aren't some people are obsessed with bedding, don't get me wrong, but there's not a large group of our customers who want to sit around talking about their sheets. It's not enough of a passion. Whereas handbags are, clothing is, fishing is, like camping, hiking, those kind of things. Those are all
examples of businesses that naturally have a repeat, where they're buying things on a, not a permanent, but there is repeat there. Because I was just looking at a couple of clients that we work with, recently, like Porcelain Superstore. They're selling tiles, and they're a great business, and they've done really well. It's really nice guys. But how often do you buy tiles? Floor tiles.
Once,
not
twice
that
a lot
often.
in your lifetime,
So
probably.
it's harder for them to get the retention. And it's not impossible, but it may need to have a slightly different category. So you might need to think about that. Well, what can we bring in that our customers are buying from other people? So there are, they bought from us, but they're buying their, other things. So perhaps possibly that's, the outdoor tiles or the floor tiles or the wall tiles or the kitchen or there's things. What could we, whilst they're buying the floor tiles from us, can we sell the vanity unit? Can we sell are there other things that we could do? And I think, so you have to look at what you're selling and what people are buying and what they're using it for as well. I think a lot of the retention. The product and the market and the customers you're going after is quite indicative, of how you can which is why we started off and we said that you've got to go with the flow of the river. You've got to look at the natural cadence and rhythm that happens within your market and try and amplify that, because you can't get somebody to buy if they don't want to buy. If it is, so you might sometimes you have to think about other categories.
Yeah,
just to throw that one out there.
I think that you've got to. It's obviously about the business you're in, and one thing I was thinking about was, let's say you go out and do a really good job at increasing customer retention, right? So you increase customer retention, and let's say a really good job is like increasing it by 25%. You increase the revenue from retained customers by 25%. It's unlikely you're going to make it 3 times. So if you look at the customers that are retained and go, would a 25% increase in retained customers make a meaningful impact to my business? For Porcelain Superstore, probably wouldn't. Probably the amount of people that come back and buy again after a year is probably like 0.5% or something like that. It's probably very, very small. So you say, well, if I increase that by 25%, is that going to make a meaningful difference to my business? No, it's not. You'd be better off putting your time into increasing the front end, the sample conversion rate, and actually getting people in. Whereas someone like Brook Taverner, if you increase the customer retention rate by 25%, massive difference to that business. Absolutely massive difference. So you've got to be realistic where you put your time in. It's a bit like when we say, why improve your checkout before you've increased your add to basket rate and stuff like that. Like you have to go with the flow of the river, understanding that it doesn't matter. No matter how brilliant you are, you're only going to increase things by 25% or ish. If you're a genius, you might do 30, 40%, but you're never going to like turn it into triple or 10 times it, So is that effort worth it? And therefore you're starting with something already. Like for Betting Envy, it would be worth it. There's a lot of people coming back, coming back each year and stuff like that. So there is the time to put that effort in, and that 25% would be a really meaningful change. So, at some point we should be looking at like, do we want to do a loyalty program? Do we want to build a community? Do we want to do points? Do we want to do those kind of things? We're already kind of doing a marketing calendar to some degree, but at the same time, we can't create a community, so we can't do too much. But like, for example, like the Ideal Home Show in the NEC, that's a big event. That's people's mind. It's being promoted in the newspapers. We could do something around it. There are things that we could create a marketing calendar, and we could do a much better job of it.
Can I loyalty just pick up something? Yeah, because you're talking about loyalty points there, and you wanted me to talk about loyalty points, and we haven't talked about loyalty point systems for quite a long time. But I remember talking about this, quite some years ago about how people use loyalty points wrong. What they do wrong when they're using loyalty or thinking about loyalty is that the clue is in the name, in a way that loyalty points are there to reward loyalty, and that is to get people to buy again. So the loyalty systems, are not a recruitment tool. They are a retention tool. They are designed to get people to come back, and there's 3 things that people do or need to get right, or they do wrong. 3 common mistakes people have when they're using loyalty points is, number 1, they call them loyalty points. Don't call them loyalty points, because nobody understands what a point is. Like, so you have 37,000 points. What does it mean? You always put the monetary equivalent, so it's simple to understand. The second thing that they get wrong with it is they plaster loyalty points all over the website, thinking that that's going to recruit new customers in the first place. And it doesn't. And the third thing is making them too small. Like, so congratulations, you've got 37,000 loyalty points, which is like, £4, and your average order value is 150. So it's got to be a meaningful amount. It's got to be presented in a way that's very simple, that it's kind of, this is how much cash you've got to spend, and remembering it's not a recruitment, it's a retention device. And I think, to have them so that they do end, is also useful because you're trying to trigger people to act now. So if they're architected well, I mean, the reality is the most simple loyalty point systems are literally just effectively the same as saying you are a VIP and you're an existing customer, and because you're an existing customer, you've got £20 to spend. And it ends this weekend. Don't miss out because you're going to lose out. So, the essence of it is very, very simple. I was thinking before about how one of the successes that we've seen to increase lifetime customer value is a bit like the Amazon Prime, like membership. So with somebody like AO.com, they've seen really good success with the membership, the AO membership, where you pay, I think it's like £30 for a yearly subscription membership, and for that you get better deals, you get free installation, they take the old packaging away, you get an extended warranty, and that's done a couple of things. Number one, they've got £30 probably on repeat for nothing. I mean, how hard, it's really hard to get a subscription of like white goods. So they've got £30 on repeat. But they've also, because you've paid for that, you've got this tangible pull as a customer to buy from them in the future because you've paid for this £30. You feel that you want to use it. And it's the same thing with ASOS. ASOS have got the where you pay £15 for free delivery for a year. Free next delivery for a year is £15. And not only do they get £15 of people up front, but you also feel loyal. And if you're going to go and buy, a pair of shoes or whatever, you feel, well, I've got to go to ASOS because I've got my pay for £15. And I've seen that happening. And it's quite hard to test lifetime customer value because it takes a long time to see. So if you implement something,
you can't split test it. You can't split test it. It's
difficult, but
yeah,
no, but I think from all the evidence that I have seen, they are very quite successful in terms of encouraging the belonging. What you're trying to do with retention is you're trying to create a sense of belonging. You're trying to get the customer to feel loyal to you and almost become, I only buy my bedding from Bedding Envy.
That was interesting because I know Costco, they have the membership. The membership actually is their profit, and that's where they drive all their profit from, is their membership, and then they sell things at cost or similar to that level. Whereas I think that some of these other people with the ASOS, they're using it more of a psychological trick to kind of say, you've paid some money, so you're more likely to come and buy from us because you're a member and you've paid some money in. Because you can't imagine that £15 for ASOS is actually moving the needle for them that much. I mean, for Costco it is because they just get so many people coming in. People come and use it all the time. So I imagine some people are using the Costco model and some people are using it as a psychological. Like Amazon Prime is probably exactly. Amazon is again as this huge volume, huge amount of people on Amazon Prime. It probably does make big differences. But for the average site, I know we've used it for some of our customers. We've done a membership where they get free shipping for certain things. We've either given it away once they've got to a certain level of VIP.
Well, the Costco model is a bit different because you can't buy anything unless you become a member. But the ASOS model, the AO model, the Brook Taverner model, they all, they are. It's an add-on, and I think it's kind of a way. It's a way to, how can we get the average order value up? I know. Yeah. Let's charge them a £30 a year membership fee, and but it also encourages loyalty.
A lot of the shops, when I was in the UK and I was buying, because obviously I buy hiking gear all the time. I don't go hiking, but I like to buy lots of gadgets and hiking gear. So I would go into a shop and I'd buy something and they'd say, do you want to sign up to the membership? And I'd be like, why should I sign up to the membership? And they go, oh, well, if you sign up to membership, that thing you're going to buy for £100 is going to be £50 or whatever it is. And the membership costs £5. And so for whatever reason, it's obviously more important for them to get me on a membership, to get my details. And they've worked out how much that costs to get me onto something.
Go Outdoors is a good example. I remember you Go Outdoors.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years.
They 2 prices. Yeah, got 2 prices on it. One is a member price and one is everyone else's price. And it's really simply just a pricing architecture. It's a
pricing architecture.
Play.
It's a psychological play to be. You are a member. I am a member. I will use my membership. So there's a lot in that, and I think that Amazon Prime is a really good example of they kept throwing other stuff into it. You get access to their TV programs and videos and all that kind of stuff, and
there are new emerging retention models coming out, like Beauty Pie, which is a cosmetics retailer. You pay a membership fee, and you then get access to these fantastic only deals, and it's almost like a kind of subscription, but you kind of build it up, and that's a different type of model, but that is a retention model. It's and when we were talking about that with Cornish Seaweed is, well, how do we, what's our retention that we should drive? Should it be 3 for 2? Should it be a subscription? Well, what happens if we add a subscription? Does that affect the cash flow because it takes too longer to get the, like, it's a fundamental core. What is our recruitment? If you had to do 2 offer architectures, it would be recruitment and retention. Like, just figure that out. Figure out what your recruitment offer is and what your retention offer is, and sometimes they can be the same. I was with a company this morning who were doing a kickoff with, and they were saying, well, we think we've got our recruitment offer right, but we have no retention offer. We don't know what to do with them. And so that we feel like we're too expensive, like, because they've had the recruitment offer of this, and then when the retention, like, was almost like we're rewarding, we're not rewarding loyalty, and that's a gap. Yeah, that's definitely a gap. And by the way, it's a made up price. I mean, they've made up the selling their own branded stuff. I mean, it's a completely made up price. So they could easily architect it in, which is the simple thing to do.
Yeah, and also you don't have to. It's not all about just giving away discount, is it? It's all about the package that you're offering, the incentive package to do the behavior you want. And a lot of the time, we are the architects of the package. We can architect the value of the package, but it doesn't necessarily have to cost us a lot of money to do so. If we put our brand on something and create our product, the product might be quite insignificant to actually produce, but because it's got our brand on it, becomes valuable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just thinking
anything
of
else you want to add?
A bedding envy dustbin with every order. Put the bedding envy brand on something completely inappropriate. Oh dear,
you've just drifted.
I have, yeah. I'll drift off more. Thank you very much, Ian, for that.
Thanks,
wonderful
Mark.
podcast.
Thanks, everyone.
And I will speak to you all soon.